In a move that's sending shockwaves through millions of American households, former President Donald Trump just dropped a bombshell announcement that could completely transform the future of food assistance in America. We're talking about sweeping changes that would affect a staggering 42 million Americans who currently rely on SNAP benefits to put food on their tables. But here's what's really turning heads. This isn't just another minor policy tweak. What Trump's proposing could fundamentally reshape how food assistance works in America, and the details are leaving both supporters and critics absolutely stunned. Some are calling it the biggest overhaul of the food stamp program since the 1960s, while others are describing it as a complete dismantling of the safety net as we know it. Before we dive into these game-changing details that are making headlines across the country, you'll want to make sure you're sitting down for this one. Hey everyone! If you want to stay updated on major policy changes that could affect your wallet and your family's future, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. It really helps the channel and you won't miss any breaking updates like this one. Let's get right into what's causing all this commotion. Trump's new proposal, unveiled during a recent rally in Iowa, centers around what he's calling the American Family First Food Program. At its core, it's a complete restructuring of how SNAP benefits would be distributed and used. The most immediate and dramatic change would be the introduction of what Trump's team is calling nutritional priority purchasing. Under this system, SNAP recipients would be required to spend at least 50% of their benefits on a pre-approved list of American-grown staple foods. But here's where things get really interesting and why so many people are either celebrating or panicking, depending on which side of the aisle they're on. The proposal wouldn't just change what people can buy, it would fundamentally alter how much control states have over their SNAP programs. Currently, states have significant flexibility in how they administer SNAP benefits. Under Trump's new plan, that would change dramatically. Think about this for a moment. What would it mean for families who've been relying on their current SNAP benefits to suddenly have to reshape their entire food buying strategy? This isn't just about policy, it's about real people, real dinner tables, and real lives being affected. The proposal includes what Trump's calling a work requirement revolution. Currently, able-bodied adults without dependents between 18 and 49 must work or participate in work training for at least 20 hours per week to receive SNAP benefits. Trump's new plan would expand these requirements to include adults up to age 65 and would increase the weekly work requirement to 30 hours. But here's the kicker, and this is what's really getting attention. The plan would also implement a new community service alternative option. Let's pause for a second and consider what this means. How would these changes affect someone like Sarah, a single mother in Ohio who works part-time while taking care of her elderly parent? Or James, a 55-year-old factory worker in Michigan who was recently laid off? These aren't just hypothetical situations, these are real scenarios playing out across America. The financial implications of this proposal are staggering. The Congressional Budget Office estimates that these changes could result in approximately $400 billion in savings over the next decade. But here's what's really fascinating and what many news outlets aren't talking about. These savings wouldn't just disappear into thin air. Trump's plan includes a controversial reinvestment strategy. Under this reinvestment component, 30% of the saved funds would be redirected into what's being called the American Agricultural Renaissance Program. This program would provide subsidies to small and medium-sized American farms that agree to participate in the new SNAP system. The idea, according to Trump's team, is to create a self-sustaining cycle of American food production and consumption. But let's dig deeper into how this would actually affect day-to-day life for SNAP recipients. The pre-approved food list would prioritize items like fresh fruits and vegetables, lean meats, dairy products, and whole grains, all required to be American-grown or produced. Here's where it gets complicated. Processed foods, sugary drinks, and certain imported items would be either restricted or completely eliminated from the approved list. Think about this. How would these restrictions impact the millions of Americans who live in food deserts, where access to fresh produce is already limited? What about families who rely on certain cultural or ethnic foods that might not make it onto the approved list? These are questions that are causing intense debate among policy experts and community leaders. The proposal also includes a technological overhaul of the entire SNAP system. Trump's team is proposing a new smart benefits card system that would automatically track and categorize purchases, ensuring compliance with the new requirements. But here's something that's raising eyebrows. The system would also include what they're calling healthy choice incentives. These incentives would work like this. SNAP recipients who consistently purchase items from the preferred food list would receive bonus points that could be used for additional food purchases. It's essentially a rewards program for healthy eating. But critics are already pointing out potential privacy concerns and questioning whether this level of purchase tracking crosses a line. Let's talk about the timeline for a moment. If Trump were to win in 2024 and implement this plan, the changes would be rolled out in 3 phases over 18 months. The first phase would focus on the technological infrastructure. The second would implement the new purchasing requirements, and the final phase would introduce the work requirements and community service options. But here's what's really interesting, and what many people are overlooking: this proposal isn't happening in a vacuum. It's part of a larger strategy that Trump's team is calling the American Self-Sufficiency Initiative. This broader plan includes changes to other welfare programs and is designed to, in Trump's words, restore the American spirit of independence and productivity. The reaction from various stakeholders has been swift and diverse. Agricultural organizations are split, with some seeing potential opportunities in the guaranteed market for American-grown products, while others worry about the logistical challenges of meeting increased demand. Anti-hunger advocates are raising alarm bells about the potential impact on food security, while fiscal conservatives are largely celebrating the projected cost savings. Let's consider some numbers that really put this in perspective. Currently, the average SNAP benefit per person is about $175 per month. Under the new system, while the dollar amount wouldn't change, the purchasing power and flexibility would be significantly different. Some economists estimate that the restricted choice could effectively reduce the real value of benefits by 15–20% for many families, depending on their location and access to approved retailers. But there's another aspect of this proposal that's generating heated discussion: the impact on local economies. Currently, SNAP benefits create a multiplier effect in local communities, with every dollar in SNAP benefits generating about $1.50 in economic activity. How would this change under the new system, with its restrictions on where and how benefits can be spent? The proposal also includes a controversial provision about immigrant eligibility. Legal permanent residents would now need to wait 10 years rather than the current 5 years before becoming eligible for SNAP benefits. This change alone could affect hundreds of thousands of legal immigrants and their families. What's particularly fascinating is how this proposal is being received in different parts of the country. Rural areas, which typically have higher rates of SNAP participation, are showing mixed reactions. Some see the emphasis on American-grown foods as a potential boost to local farming communities, while others worry about the practical challenges of implementing such strict requirements in areas with limited food options. The community service alternative in the work requirement provision is also raising interesting questions. Under this option, SNAP recipients could fulfill their work requirements through approved community service activities, including working in community gardens, food banks, or senior centers. It's an innovative approach, but it's also generating debate about the practicality and fairness of such requirements. Let's talk about the enforcement mechanism for a moment, because this is where things get really interesting. The proposal includes the creation of a new oversight division within the USDA, tentatively called the Nutritional Compliance Office. This office would be responsible for monitoring both recipient compliance and retailer participation in the program. But here's something that hasn't received much attention. The proposal includes a hardship exemption process. This would allow states to grant temporary exemptions from certain requirements in cases of natural disasters, economic downturns, or personal emergencies. However, these exemptions would be strictly limited and subject to federal oversight. The technological aspects of this proposal deserve closer attention. The new Smart Benefits Card system would need to be integrated with existing point-of-sale systems nationwide. It's a massive undertaking that would require significant cooperation from retailers, technology providers, and state agencies. Some experts are questioning whether such a complex system could be implemented within the proposed timeline. The proposal also includes an educational component that's generating both praise and criticism. SNAP recipients would be required to complete an online nutrition education program before receiving their first benefits under the new system. The program would cover topics like meal planning, budgeting, and healthy cooking techniques. But critics argue that this additional requirement could create barriers for some recipients, particularly those with limited internet access or technical skills. Here's something interesting to consider. How would this affect the broader food industry? Major food manufacturers and retailers are already analyzing the potential impact on their business models. Some are already developing new product lines that would meet the stricter nutritional requirements, while others are lobbying against the changes. As we wrap this up, let's consider the bigger picture. This proposal represents more than just changes to a government program. It's a fundamental shift in how America approaches food assistance and nutrition. It raises important questions about the role of government in personal food choices, the balance between assistance and responsibility, and the future of food security in America. What do you think about these proposed changes? How would they affect your community? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective on this important issue. And if you found this information valuable, please hit that like button and subscribe to stay informed about more breaking news that could affect you and your family. Remember, knowledge is power, and staying informed is the first step to being prepared for whatever changes may come.